Hello, everyone. It is Kyle. Welcome back. So it's just going to be me today. So just me. I hope that's okay. But I just want to say, welcome everyone back. Thanks for joining in on this Tuesday. My name is Kyle, and I am a peer advisor here at OCD. And so what that means here is that I follow you along the journey here at NoCD, and so I get matched with you when you first begin therapy here, and then I kind of follow you through and just provide support here and there, as we know there are so many unknowns that come along the way with therapy in general. So that's just what I do here, and then I'm also an advocate, and I advocate on our app as well as the YouTube lives here as well. So let me see here. So it looks like we have one question here. Okay, so Andrea. So hello, I had a question about contamination OCD. How do I stop living in fear, being okay with the uncomfortable feelings, stop being afraid of my groceries or everything being full of germs or something? So, Andrea, this is, I'm sorry that you're experiencing this and that living in fear that, just like you said, that's how I felt always when my OCD was at its worst, of just constant fear of like what's coming next. It's very, very scary. So I just want to validate that of what you're going through. And the way out, though, the way to kind of get through this is with exposure therapy. So that's the most important thing here is ERP. So if you're not familiar with that, and anyone else who's here, I just want to kind of give, just an overview of ERP. So what ERP is ERP is exposure and response prevention. And so what that entails is exposing yourself to the fear or that trigger, and then allowing yourself to resist compulsions, work through the feelings, and let the anxiety subside. So that is the idea of ERP in essence. So it's, and it's kind of like people say, face your fear. And this is just in a therapeutic way of exposing yourself and kind of retraining your mind to understand that these fears and these different things that are coming our way, they do not need to be further looked into. There's no certainty to find. So, Andrea, I'm sorry that you're going through this, but I just want you to know that ERP is incredible, and OCD is highly treatable with ERP. So there truly is a way to overcome this, and I never thought that I'd be able to. And here I am talking to you all. So I really do believe that you can also get the same help that I did. Okay, let's see. Hi, Aurora. Let me see. Hi, Aurora. Thank you so much for joining in. So I have an appointment with you soon. I can't wait to talk with you either. That's very, very exciting. Yeah, I know we haven't talked too much yet. So thank you for joining in. I'm excited to get to know you better. Yeah, I do have existential OCD. So that was one of my main themes. So just to share with everyone, my main theme is more so harm OCD and existential. So those are the two that I really dealt with, and that got very severe, and what brought me into therapy. So welcome, Aurora. Thank you for joining. Let's see. So Andrea said also, is there a way to get help from a peer advisor? So when you do start with NoCD therapy, you do get assigned a peer advisor, just as you do a therapist. So when you first call in and you do make an appointment, you kind of get all the details and feel comfortable about taking that next step. You do get matched with a therapist, and then you'd get matched with a peer advisor as well. And then so how that would go is we'd be able to have a conversation before you have your first appointment so that we can really talk things through. I know that there's so many hesitations and unknowns that come along the way. So that's just what we're here for, is to provide that support from our personal experience. And I do want to let everyone know too, I'm not a licensed clinician. So us peer advisors, we're not licensed clinicians. So we speak from our personal experience just to really, allow you to understand that you're not alone. And I know I felt very alone, but we're all in this together. So, Andrea, if you are interested just in learning more, I don't know if you are in therapy now or if you're looking for therapy, but if you are interested, you can always give us a call. You can schedule a call on our site as well. And you can always request to speak to me. I'd be very happy to have a conversation with you and just talk in more detail about what you're going through and how NoCD and ERP can actually really, really change things. So, okay, so let's see here. All right. Thank you guys for bearing with me since it's just me today. Okay, so Luca, I finished my NoCD therapy yesterday. I'm so scared now I'm alone. My OC is still quite bad, not sure what to do. I'm so sorry, Luca. So when you say that you finished, are you going to continue seeing your therapist? Because I know the main structure of the therapy itself is about 9 to 10 weeks, and then you can choose to do biweekly sessions or do less frequent sessions with your therapist. So I just want you to know that there's definitely more that we can do here, whether that's maybe you need more sessions, maybe we just need to get another plan in place here to continue so that you can keep working on this. So Luca, what I would say is you should have a peer advisor. So I would reach out to your peer advisor, and they should be in an email to you. They typically send texts as well. So I would see if you can find that link for your peer advisor, and then you can reach out, you can text us, and we can definitely link up and get you on the right path again. So I'm sorry that your OCD is still quite bad. I know it can take time to really work through all these things. So just know that we're here for you and we're not just going to let you go. So I would just encourage you to reach out to your peer advisor. And if you're not quite sure who your peer advisor is or anything like that, give us a call and I can always help with that. You can ask to speak with Kyle, and then we can work that out. So, okay. All righty. All right. I'm just kind of combing through these comments. Thank you all. All right. So let's see. Okay, so we have Megan here. So, how do you know when to go into inpatient help, such as residentials? It's hard to live in my home environment and it has been difficult to progress, but I don't know if it's a good idea to go. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's very tough to kind of walk that fine line of what type of help you need if that is more of the intense going inpatient. So I know sometimes too, if you were to, I'm not sure if from what I get, I don't think you're working with us, but if you were to have what we call is like an assessment, it's the diagnostic assessment in clinical terms, but how this would work is you would schedule a diagnostic assessment with us, which would be your first appointment, and you would be assessed there. So you would fill out an assessment, and the OCD specialist is there to truly assess and give a diagnosis. And what comes along with that as well is severity levels. So if for some reason your symptoms are very severe and they think that you would benefit more from a inpatient, then they would tell you that. So that is something that is assessed because we want you to get the best help and what's going to help you the most. And if that's not with us at NoCD, that's okay, but we want to send you in that right direction. So what also happens in those instances is you could get referrals. So like your therapist that you started with could kind of talk things through with you and kind of run through certain other options that you may have. So I just want you to know that that is assessed, and that could allow you to know which direction is the best to go. I also know sometimes with the severity, it's hard to articulate exactly how severe. And so when you do get to have an assessment by an OC specialist, it really kind of puts things in perspective of which direction is best to go. So I know it's confusing and it's hard to find out, but if you are able and if you're not yet, I would try to see an OC specialist, whether that's with us, you could go right on our website and even if that's just scheduling that first appointment to get a diagnosis and to be assessed by an expert. I think that's very worthwhile because it can give you a peace of mind of knowing which direction is best to go. So good luck, Megan. I know that you can figure it out, but you just need the right help there. All right. Okay, Danielle. Is OCD having mean and vindictive thoughts? I get that towards people and loved ones. Hmm. Well, I think it can. Yeah. I know, and also whenever your mental state is off, you could say, or you're under a lot of distress, I think that it can cause these different, mean or vindictive thoughts. I think that it all kind of follows each other essentially, so it all influences each other. So I do think that that can be a part of it. And if you are working with someone, I would ask that, your therapist or your specialist what they think about that. But honestly, when it comes to OCD, it's like anything is possible and anything can get tied up in that, especially with compulsion. So I know it's confusing, but yeah, I would say so, Danielle. All righty. Okay. All right, let's see. Shubham, I hope that I'm pronouncing your name right. So I keep checking if I am still afraid of things that I was afraid before, and I keep convincing myself that I'm not. But I can't stop checking it because I'm afraid that I'm not doing exposure. Okay, so like I said, I'm not a licensed clinician, but so checking. So that's that keyword of checking. Checking is a big compulsion. I know it was for me. That was a big compulsion for me to check if I felt a certain way, or oh, I just had that thought. Well, let me check. And like, is that, do I feel something, or is there something actually there? So checking can be a big compulsion. Um, Sorry about the noise. So it's, and it can turn into a compulsion even when you do start improving in symptoms, because I know this happened for me is when my those intrusive thoughts started going away, and it wasn't hitting me as much and it wasn't as severe. I felt the need to check because I was like, wait, like where did it go? Am I still afraid of it? Am I not? So it's kind of like that tightrope that you're just walking really, and it is confusing. But I it's just a part of the process. But checking typically is not going to be a healthy coping mechanism. So yeah, I would, if you're not seeing a specialist, I would definitely get in touch with one. Just because compulsions, I mean, they're hard to resist, and that's why we do typically need an expert and a specialist to kind of point us in those right directions. So good luck. I really do wish you luck, but it's tough. But checking's a hard one to beat, but it's a part of the process. So just, yeah, you're doing your best. I always say you're doing the best with what you have. So if you're not working with a specialist, definitely reach out, so that you can learn how to properly resist the compulsions. Okay. Alrighty. So we have Megan here. Hi, Megan. So, how do you deal with the fear of going crazy? I'm hyper aware of everything and I can get myself so worked up and into a panic attack. How do you deal with this fear? Any ideas for exposures? So, so Megan, I can't unfortunately give exposure advice just because I'm not a licensed clinician as much as I wish I could. But yeah, I can't give ideas for exposures, but I highly resonate with this. I mean, that was one of my biggest fears, was the fear of going crazy. I thought that I was going schizophrenic potentially, or I was like in a psychotic episode. That's just what I truly believed at the time. And because of that, I also resonate with what you're saying about hyper awareness. I became so hyper aware of everything, everything around me, movements, anything in my sight, sounds, because of the association to going crazy, or however we want to kind of bucket that in. But it is scary. It's scary when you become so hyper aware, because you are truly just scanning everything. And so it's like almost like everything is a trigger. Any noise can be a trigger. Anything you see out of your peripheral vision was a trigger for me. Because I'm like, wait, did I see that? Or, oh, I heard that. Did you hear that? And it's very scary. And yes, I was having panic attacks all the time. So, how do you deal with this fear? So, how I dealt with it and what I finally had to really work through was acceptance of those feelings. So, not necessarily, of course, we don't enjoy it when you were having stress or any type of, you could say, negative feeling. Of course, we're not going to enjoy it. But what I've learned is that it helps me to acknowledge that I'm going through that and to kind of give myself a pep talk. So, because typically with a panic attack, if I started feeling panicky and maybe shaky and maybe my palms were getting sweaty, maybe starting to go pale, those things all just add up and I get really, really scared. And typically I would just be like, I try to neutralize it. So that can be a compulsion of like, oh no, everything's fine. Like everything's fine. Like kind of like just talking yourself out of it. So that's another way. And also the other thing that is not helpful is to run away from it. So same thing of like, oh no, I'm fine. I'm going to be okay. Or just kind of really like, it's like pushing against it because we're giving it power. We're saying that these feelings I'm having, my palms are sweaty, I'm feeling pale. These are all scary, terrible things. And how can I get out of this? When is this going to end? Am I gonna make it out of this? Is actually something that I was thinking pretty much all the time. But what I learned is that was all giving it power and it would just make things worse. And so what I do now, if I am feeling panicky or I'm kind of feeling like that's kind of starting up again, I give myself a pep talk. I'm like, Kyle, like you're feeling panicky. Like you are feeling panicky and that's okay. It's okay that you're feeling that way because oftentimes I can speak for myself. I didn't think that was okay. I was like, I can't feel like this. I shouldn't feel like this. Like this isn't okay. This means something terrible is going to happen. But on the flip side is, Kyle, like you're feeling panicky. Like, yes, you're pale, you feel disassociated. This is happening. But this has happened many times. And every single time I thought it was going to be the worst one ever. Or it would really just, take me off and take me into a whole different direction. But every single time that doesn't happen. And so it's kind of like looking back and being like, I've went through this experience several times. I mean, for me, it was like every day, but it's kind of acknowledging that this is something that happens. I've made it out okay every single time. And so for me, it's truly a little pep talk and just acknowledging what is happening and how I can actually cope with it. Because we can cope with all these things, and we have. I've had a million panic attacks, and I've coped. I made it out. I'm here, and so I just try to remind myself of that. Like this is happening again, and that's okay. I've dealt with this. Like how you've dealt with this, so you got this. So, Megan, I know you do too because you've experienced this. You've experienced this, and you've gotten out of it. So every feeling is temporary. And that's the other main thing of those panic attacks and those feelings are all temporary. And they're really, really scary because they feel real because of the physical aspects that come along with it. And that's what scared me the most of, what do you mean? I am pale. I'm sweating. My hands are shaking. Like clearly something is wrong. Something is happening. But our mind and our thoughts, they have a powerful effect, and which goes into these physical things that happen, and it's so scary. So just know that you can overcome this, Megan. Like I know you can because you have. And I know it's so scary when you're in the midst of it, but my biggest thing was acknowledging it, saying it's happening, and also acknowledging that I've got through it every time. So I really hope that helps, and I do wish you the best. I know how scary that is. Okay. All right. How do you deal with OCD urges? So yeah, I experienced some of these actually, and they were very scary to me because they weren't just a thought. And I don't want to say just a thought because thoughts can be very scary. But urges for me, I mean, those were very scary because it further made me feel like I I was going to do something. Like it was like the smallest things of even like, oh my God, what if I like push that person, or what if I touch that person, or what if I just go up to that person and like grab them? Like these weird kind of like, I just felt like, oh, I'm walking by this person, like almost like an urge to like push them or touch them or something. And that was just really frightening because I felt like I was no longer in control. And that's what was really scary, is feeling like you are not in control of your own actions. And that terrified me. So dealing with them, I had to accept the uncertainty. Like, yeah, I may or I may not. I may push that person. I might not. I might walk by them and touch them. I might not. So it's really just calling out that uncertainty. But this is what truly exposure and response prevention therapy, or the ERP, teaches you to overcome and to accept that uncertainty, because OCD just wants certainty. It wants answers, it wants solutions, it wants things to perfectly tie together. But we know that's just not the way it works. We can never get certainty. And so that's where ERP comes in, is to retrain our minds. Because maybe when we were, I don't know how long we've all been dealing with OCD, but at some point we were okay with uncertainty. There was a point when we were. And then when OCD hits hard and we get wrapped up into it and we become habituated to it and the way it works, we no longer are okay with uncertainty. That's exactly what it takes away. And so by going into therapy, you are looking to be okay with uncertainty again. And that is what ERP will give you. And so the same thing with urges, thoughts, urges, feelings, they're all uncertain, and they're all a part of the same flow that OCD has. And so ERP is going to work the same across the board, whether, yeah, it's a thought, a feeling, an urge. It's going to be able to help you to overcome and accept that anything can truly happen, but that's not a threat to you. So, okay, let's see here. All right, John. So I've developed for the first time my life horrible intrusive thoughts about harm related things. It started after the birth of my daughter. Been obsessing about being crazy or schizophrenic. Yeah, John. I mean, this is essentially my story. This is my story, starting with the horrible intrusive thoughts about harm, and sexual things, so violent sexual things, anything that's just really terrible and taboo like that. And then once that started happening, I started thinking I was going crazy or schizophrenic. So, you are not the only one there, and I know it often feels that way, but I was there. I was literally right there. I mean, I was taking I thought I was, I was trying to gauge if I was psychotic, like going into psychosis or experiencing psychosis. So I would like a million times a day take psychosis quizzes to see, like, am I headed in that direction? Do I associate with any of the symptoms and this and that? And so it is so scary. So I'm really sorry that you're going through that. And I'm also sorry that it happened after the birth of your daughter, because I'm sure that that took some things away from you. And that's what OCD does, is it takes these precious moments and these experiences that we should be able to truly love, and it takes them away. And that's exactly what prompted me to get into therapy. I was tired of OCD taking things away from me, not allowing me to do stuff I love, be with the people I love. It's a really horrible thing. But we can really get past it. I mean, like I said, I was right here with you, and now I'm here. Um, so I'm really, really sorry that you're going through this. Those harm thoughts, and those taboo themes, they're so scary, because I know for me, just kind of speaking from my experience, I this is just me, but I'm less worried about things that will only hurt me, and I'm more worried about things that involve someone else. So when it comes to those harm thoughts and certain things like that, it gives me a lot of pause and a lot of distress, because it's the idea that I could hurt someone else, or I could be involved in the hurting of someone else. And so now this is not only affecting me, but this is hurting someone else. And that's not okay. And so that's why I just really couldn't really deal with these or overcome these on my own. So yeah, I'm really, really sorry. Okay, I see here. So John also said I have an appointment with NoC tomorrow. That's awesome. I'm so, so excited for you because this was the best thing that has ever happened to me. I mean, just to be honest, I wasn't really seeing a future for myself. This was about a year ago. I've been in recovery now for a year. And I mean, during my darkest period, I couldn't see past anything. I was having panic attacks every day. I was disassociated. My vision was blurred because of just the intense anxiety that I was under. So I know that you can get through this. It takes a lot of determination. And when it comes to ERP and those exposures, excuse me, it's all about practice. So, because to kind of put it this way, as we become accustomed to OCD and as we try and cope with OCD by compulsions, that becomes naturalized. And so this becomes our way of life. And, for a long time, I know for people, years, decades. So to think about becoming, this is a natural state for us to do these compulsions, to feel these things, to have these intrusive thoughts, be in our mind all the time. That becomes natural. And so when you go into ERP therapy, you're trying to break that whole natural cycle that has like created and has gotten embedded. So that's what we're doing here is we're trying to break that cycle because we can because there was a time when it wasn't like that. And it's possible, like the cognitive change, because that's what the important thing is here is it's behavioral therapy. So you are truly applying yourself and it's action based. So you're doing these exposures. So those are actions. So what those are doing is they're physically and I don't know, chemically, I don't know, I'm not, a scientist, but in your brain, like neuroplasticity, your brain can change. You can rehabituate to something else. So what we're doing here is we are rehabituating ourselves to understand that uncertainty is okay and that these compulsions are not worthwhile. They're actually hurting us. But because it's become natural, it's going to take time. And that's the nature of it. And that's okay. But when you think about mentally breaking a pattern that you may have been in for years and years or however long, I mean, it takes time and it takes patience. So just know that. And I'm really excited for you to start here. I truly believe that you can come out of this the other end, kind of just like I did. I really do believe that. And I had these same themes. So, I know how scary it is, John, but I do wish you the best. So good luck on your appointment tomorrow. And, please let us know if you need anything. I know that you have a peer advisor. So if you ever just want some extra support or want to hear someone's story who has gone through this, and all of our peer advisors have gone through our NoCD ERP therapy. So it's always really nice to kind of have someone to lean on in that way. So I wish you the best on your appointment tomorrow. Okay, you're welcome, Andrea, of course. Okay, let's see. And so I'm trying to get to all questions, and I know it's just me today, so doing my best here. So I apologize if I don't get in certain ones, but gonna do my best. Okay, so let's see. So Brandon. So right now I'm struggling with the urges of my harm OCD that make me feel I will act my violent thoughts or that I want to. I'm scared this is who I am, even though I never struggled with this. Tips. Yeah, let's see here. So right now I'm struggling with the urges of my harm OCD that makes me feel like I will act on my violent thoughts or that I want to. I'm scared this is who I am. Yeah, so the biggest thing with OCD is it wants us to distrust ourselves. So no longer be sure of who we are or what we actually want or what is true in our hearts. And so OCD, it tries to make us like the opposite of that person, or it's ego dystonic is what the words are. The how to really kind of label it is ego dystonic. So OCD is ego dystonic. So what that means is that the thoughts and the feelings and the urges, they go against like your true values, your true moral compass, however you want to say it. And that's what causes all of this extreme distress, which leads to coping mechanisms like the compulsions. So that is ego dystonic, and that's why OCD is what it is, because it tries to make us believe that we're a different person than we know we are. But we say that lightly because it's like, I know I'm this, but what if I'm this? And OCD is the doubting disorder. So we're going to doubt it all day long. So I'm sorry that you're going through this, Brandon. I mean, it's really scary, and just because I've experienced harm OCD to a high level, it's very, very scary. Mine started with first, I was worried that I would accidentally do something. So like sleepwalk and accidentally kill myself, sleepwalk and hurt someone, so stuff like that. I thought that, or that I would just, say I was like at work, that I would just like black out, be a different person, and like go wild and like hurt people or something. I just was always, so it started with that, but then it transitioned to, what if I want to hurt someone? What if it turns into that it's something I want to do? And that was so, so scary for me, because I'm like, oh, like that's, at first it was like I was worried that something accidentally would happen. And now it's like, what if I choose to do something bad one day and I turn into this like awful, terrible, hurtful person? So it's so, so scary, Brandon. But like I said, like I experienced that, and it was terrible. But I was able to get through it with ERP therapy. And that's my biggest tip there, because I tried a lot of things before I got into therapy. And it wasn't hitting the root of the problem. And so that's what exposures do, is you're confronting the core fear. Instead of kind of putting a band-aid on it, you are targeting that core fear, and you are working through it. You're retraining your brain to understand that this thought is not a big deal as much as we think it is. And I couldn't imagine not seeing the thought as a big deal, but that's what happens as you kind of cognitively change over time. It's very, very interesting. But I'm sorry you're going through this, and just know that you're not alone in this. I have harm OCD, and it was tough. I still get triggered here and there, but because I've gone through therapy and I have all these tools, I've been able to manage it pretty well. So just know that there's a lot of opportunity to improve here. Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay, so Ian, I have a lot of harm OCD today. Yeah, which is good. Not good, but I have harm OCD, so I can really, really, understand what you're going through. So, I have harm OCD. I get these thoughts and urges to act on harmful things. First question is: Are urges and impulses to act normal? So, my first question is: Are urges and impulse to act normal? Can you clarify, Ian? I'm not quite sure I understand the last question. Just want to make sure I'm giving you like the right answer there. So if you don't mind just clarifying, first question is: Are urges and impulses to act normal? Okay, yeah. If you don't mind clarifying that, I just want to make sure I understand correctly, so I can give you the best answer there. Okay. All right. OCD madness. Have you ever had real event OCD? So I have not. I'm sorry that I cannot speak from personal experience for that. I do know that it's a big one. Talk to a lot of people who experience this, and I know how scary it is, because it's unknown. Yeah, it's really looking at, did this happen or did that happen, and it's tough when you kind of look back at memories or certain things, and I kind of compare this to dreams as well, is as we try and look back on these things and we're like, did that happen? Did this happen? Or I can't remember quite correctly. And we'll keep going. We'll keep trying to view it. And what's kind of happening is like, we're taking a picture of a picture of a picture. So it's just getting blurrier and blurrier and blurrier. So as we dig deeper, it becomes more unknown. And that just fuels OCD, because then we kind of freak out because we can't find the answer, and then we have to do other compulsions. So I hope that, just gives you just some little support there because I have not had real event OCD, but I do know we have a lot of really great blogs as well as videos on this YouTube channel that are pre-recorded. So I would kind of take a look through there. But I'm sorry that you're going through this. I know it's so hard. So I do wish you the best, but I also want you to know if you're not in therapy, ERP, it works. It works across any theme, any, contamination, harm, POCD, sexual orientation, real event. It really works the same across the board. And that's why it's so important to work with a specialist, because what they will do is they will help find exposures that are going to hit your core fear so that you're able to overcome this. So I do wish you the best. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Luca said, yes, still see my therapist once a month if I can afford it. Okay, I know how much finances play a huge role, Luca, so I really understand. Um, and I hope that you can, kind of keep pushing forward. I know that there's a lot of factors in our life, like monetarily, absolutely, but and I can never speak for anyone or what situation you're in or anything like that. And I will never. But what I will say is that mental health for me, like it had to be my number one priority in regards to when it came to like my money. Because like how I looked at it, and this is I had to look at it this way of if I don't allocate or prioritize that, then these other things in my life, they're not gonna pick back up. Because mental health, if you get your mental health in order, oftentimes what you'll see is that everything else around you and all these other factors in your life will start flowing together because you're just in a better place. And so just something to think about, Luca. I know that it's hard and it's not always feasible. But just really think about it. Really think about maybe any changes you could make to be able to afford it or accommodate this for yourself. Um, I know it's really hard, but I just kind of think about that and if you can kind of maybe change some things or shift some things so that you're able to have some more therapy, I that would be my advice. But it's what is feasible. It's what is feasible for everyone. We're all in different places in our lives. But I really hope that you can overcome the financial hurdle so that you can really get yourself to a better place. Because I know how important that is. I know how much I'm sure you want that, but money is a huge factor. So just kind of think things through and see if it's something that you could do and could actually work with. So I do wish you the best, Luca, and let us know if you want to talk or if you have any questions. We also have a payment plan. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. So we do have a payment plan that can help spread out those costs. The other thing that I also want to mention, I don't know if you are in network in regards to your insurance with no CD in the therapy, but if you're not, sometimes you may have out of network benefits with your insurance provider. So this is just something that I never was that knowledgeable about. But when it comes to insurance, say for instance, I started with no CD and they checked my insurance, like you're not in network. Well, something that I can do is call my insurance provider and there's like these codes, but which you could get from us. But I could provide them these codes and I'm like, hey, like, they said that you're not in network, but I just wanted to see if you cover any out of network costs. Cause sometimes they do. Sometimes in your plan, it might say something like, when you meet your deductible, we'll cover 60% of out of network therapy or something like that. So that's just something to look into. I don't know, everyone has different plans, different benefits, but it's just something that has potential. And if you haven't checked, I would just check just to be sure that you've kind of looked into all your different options. So yeah, I wish you the best, Luca. Alrighty. Okay, so Paul. Okay. Is hyper superstitious OCD the same as magical thinking OCD? So to be honest, Paul, I've never heard of those terms together, hyper superstitious. So I can't confirm or deny, but what I can say is that it sounds like it. It sounds like it would be like if you've heard someone reference the hyper superstitious, it may be magical thinking. That's what I would assume, but I'm not quite sure here. All right. Okay, Megan. I have been trying to sit with the discomfort when I have intrusive thoughts and fight the urge to do a compulsion, but at times I have to still give in to avoid a panic attack. Advice. Yeah, so first off, Meg, I just want to say that you're doing great. You're doing the best that you can. And sometimes if you have to do a compulsion, you have to do a compulsion. If that's gonna get you, in that moment, we gotta do our best. And you're doing your best. And so whenever I do a compulsion here and there, I try not to talk down to myself. I try to kind of keep my inner communication with myself very positive. So I used to do a compulsion and I would be like, "Oh, Kyle, you suck," like, not to do that. You just spent 15 minutes ruminating. Like, how could you? But now it's like that's just not good. That's not good. And so now it's like I literally I know I mentioned this earlier, but pep talk. I'm like, Kyle, you just ruminated for 15 minutes. That's okay. You didn't realize. So let's not now, essentially. And so kind of like shift that. So the panic attacks are hard because those are so scary and so physical. Um, so let's see. So any advice? So I guess it's tough because the advice I feel like would be more so like ERP techniques, and just because I'm not a licensed clinician, I can't, I can't advise on those. But and my other question, I'm not sure if you are in therapy right now, um, but you're fighting the urge to do a compulsion, and that's step one is fighting the urge. And so I just want you to know that that's step one, and you've reached that. And so that's something, that really is something. And so it's kind of think about it that way, is that you're working your way there, but you still have to give in to avoid a panic attack. So yeah, I think ERP techniques is what would come into play here. Accepting uncertainty is the biggest thing, of accepting that discomfort, because that's the hardest part, is sitting with the discomfort and resisting the compulsions. I mean, that's an exposure in itself, is sitting with intrusive thought and the stress that it causes you and letting it just letting it ride through. um, the other thing that I would want to make sure is, are you aware of all your different compulsions, and how to recognize them? And it would just more so come down to tips then, ERP tips to stop the compulsions in that moment. But I just want to say it's easier said than done. Easier said than done. So even when you fail, keep trying, because then when you do succeed, that's huge, and it's going to show you that you can keep succeeding. So if you are working with a therapist, which I hope you are, I would ask for some further techniques for you in this instance. Okay, you're very welcome, Luca. All right, I'm just gonna take a sip of water here. All right, all right. Sarah, I hope I'm saying your name right. I kind of know that ERP works, but my mind wants more assurance that it will also work for the procrastination of educational tasks. Hmm. I don't know. Yeah, this is also, this is an uncertainty of yeah, I can't say, and I don't know if anyone would be able to kind of assure, because yeah, that's, I mean, essentially that's what that is what OC wants, is, well, reassurance more so. But we want certainty. We want to know, like, no, that's gonna work. Like when I started no C therapy, I was like, I am, like, basically ask my therapist, like, if I do this, like, is this going to work? But that's reassurance, because no one knows. No one can actually say. So, I hope that it would, because what I would think though is, say with OCD, and I'm going with ERP, OC might have taken away doing well in school, or doing well really in anything. And so for me, it was affecting all those different areas. And so when I worked on the OCD with the ERP, it affected all those different areas of my life, and just made everything easier. So, maybe I was procrastinating on educational tasks because I was caught up in my OCD. And so as I worked on my OCD and was able to overcome those other things in my life started just getting easier. And I was able to just do a better job in work, in school, in my friendships. So all of that. So I hope that helps. But yeah, it's hard. We can't be completely certain at all. Okay. All right. Hi, Will. Don't mind my YouTube name. No worries. How do you differentiate between ruminating and sitting with the thought? Yeah, that's a really good question. So ruminating. So ruminating, I'm like, yeah, how do I best? This is a tough one. Good question, Will. So ruminating. Mm, so ruminating, we're searching for something. So we're searching for something. So that's, I guess that's the biggest thing that I would say is the difference between ruminating and sitting with a thought. Ruminating, we're looking for, there's like a question that we're looking to answer. So whether that's like, is this true? Did I do that before? Could I do that? Oh, I had this dream last night, or whatever the case is, that's ruminating. So ruminating is like you're doing certain things to piece together a puzzle, to find an answer, to um, to make yourself feel better. I mean, because that's what compulsions, we use them for momentary relief. So the rumination is seeking that. Now, sitting with the thought, that's going to be different because you aren't looking for an answer. That's exactly what you actually are not doing, is you're not looking for an answer. You're saying like, "Oh, Kyle, you just said, what if I drink my essential oil and kill myself?" Well, I may, and it's kind of just sitting in that thought. It's like, okay, yeah, I might do that. So all I'm thinking about is drinking the essential oil and how that could kill me. But I'm not thinking about, well, would it? Do I want to do that? Do I think I would do that? The other night, like it was next to my bed and this, and so that's kind of just like a quick little like ruminating is scanning, searching, looking for something, piecing together something. Sitting with a thought is literally just that thought. So my thought is about my essential oils and about drinking it and that it could kill me. Okay, that's all I'm going to think about. I'm not thinking about, do I want to? Do I think I want to? Could I? Have I? Did I have a dream that I did? All the reasons why I wouldn't want to. So all of that. So that's kind of, I hope that helps, but that's essentially what it is. So yeah, I hope that helps well. Okay, so Sarah said, just a little bit more. So I have so much work to do and I have so less time to work on it. And I have this bad feeling and I want to get rid of it. I know that I know how it feels to have so many other obligations and things that we want to tackle on top of OCD. But like what my biggest advice, I mean, just really just my opinion is when we work on our mental health, everything else will fall into place. So for me, that had to be priority because if I didn't prioritize it, nothing else would actually come to fruition as it really should. So that's just the way I thought about it, Sarah. So I really hope that you can, work through this. I know it's so hard. We all have different, some people going through this, they have families, they have, wife, husband, kids. They're taking care of their grandmother. They're working 80 hours a week, all these things. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. But at the end of the day, I had to prioritize my mental health because I knew once I did that, everything else would fall in line. Okay. So Paul, I unfortunately can't give ERP tips just because I'm not a licensed clinician. So I'm really sorry. But there's the expert could really give those to you and they could really work. So there's ERPs for everything, exposures for everything. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't give exposure advice, and that's really where the expert comes in because they know all this. They went to school for this. They have experience in this, and they're gonna look at you and your symptoms, and they're gonna create things from all of that. So that's why I can't. And you wouldn't really want someone like me, or really just a layman, to give you that advice or that direction because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Like you need an assessment so we can really understand what's happening. You're going to want a diagnosis as well so that you can you can have a peace of mind of what you're going to work on and why. And then also, yes, with that assessment, there's severity levels and there's other things happening, depression, anxiety. And so it's pretty complex. So that's why it's not easy just to say like, oh, this exposure or you could do this, just because there's a lot involved. I'll be honest, I tried to do exposures on my own before therapy because I thought that would be easier than telling someone my feelings. And so I would like research and I tried to do this and that, but it just wasn't possible for me to do it just because I'm not an expert and I don't have the education to do that. So that's why it's so important to work with a specialist. And that's why No CD is huge, because our therapists are here because they are specialized in OCD and ERP, which is very, very hard to find. I just want to say I looked for quite a long time. And that's also why it took a long time, because nothing was speaking to me. And then I finally came across No CD and I was like, they talked about all the themes, all the thoughts, all the scary thoughts, the gross thoughts. And I was like, all right, this is the place, because they're not scared to acknowledge these scary things that we're all experiencing. So, yes, I wish you the best, Paul. I would, really hope that you can get some expert advice on those exposures. All right. Okay, Sylvia. So I have contamination OCD. I feel my life revolves around it. I find it hard to differentiate between what thoughts are OCD and what is common sense. Do you have any advice on knowing the difference? That's a great question, Sylvia. Because yeah, it's like that gray area. It's the gray area of, and what I'm doing logical? Is it for logical reasons in regards to germs and cleanliness, or is my OCD taking over and really just kind of like heightening this experience? So, great question. And just want you to know there's many people who struggle with determining the difference there. So, do you have any advice on knowing the difference? Well, one thing would be is I'm trying to think. There was something that I found it hard to differentiate between what thoughts are OCD and what's common sense. So typically with OCD, it is it's causing a lot of distress, and it's a pattern. So sometimes that's the way of kind of like separating it of, is this something that like comes in my mind like all the time, and also are there compulsions that follow it, and then kind of like separating the other one and being like, are there compulsions associated? How often do I think about this? Is it always the same thought? It's kind of like trying to piece together those things, which I know is really hard, and it is a gray area. It's very hard to differentiate, and especially with contamination. I just want to say, Sylvia, and also just because of COVID and the pandemic, so many people were like, I don't know if this is my OCD or this is because of COVID. And it was a hard thing to differentiate. So I just want you to know you're not alone. But yeah, kind of try to recognize a pattern and compulsions, and try and associate those with certain thoughts, and then see if that maybe helps you. So good luck with that. I know it's hard. It really is. Okay, so Ian, all right, we're back. Okay, so the second part of my question is, how do you do ERP when it comes to an urge? Well, it really is kind of the same way with a thought. So it's accepting a feeling or urge, and it's so that the main thing to point out is it's acceptance, not approval. So those are two very different things. So with acceptance, we're just saying that this is how I feel. This is a thought I'm having. This is the urge I'm having, and that's okay. It's okay. I'm acknowledging that it's here. It's here. So we're not approving it. We're just saying it's here. It's happening, but I'm also here with it, and I'm just saying it's here. I'm not running away from it. I'm not giving it power by like being really scared of it. So, and when it comes to how do you do it, just because I'm not a licensed clinician, I can't give that advice per se, but it is possible. It is possible across thoughts, feelings, and urges. So ERP will work will truly work the same. Just, of course, has to be tailored to your specific experience that you're going through. So I'm sorry I can't give like exposure advice on that, but I just want you to know that a therapist can, a specialist can definitely tailor something for you to really attack this core fear of the urge that you're experiencing. Okay, let's see here. All right, Nat. My sister has OCD, and now that she is pregnant, her symptoms have skyrocketed, but she denies OCD is impacting her. Is there any way I can help her or anything that would assist her to gain insight? I'm sorry that your sister has experienced this, Nat. I That's so hard to watch someone that you love go through something, and then not really, I don't want to say she doesn't want to accept it, but as you say here, it's she's not quite just accepting it and wanting to work on it. So I'm sorry. I can't imagine, viewing. I have many sisters, and that would be really sad for me to watch one of them go through this. So I'm sorry. Is there any way I can help her? Anything that would assist her to gain insight? Hmm. So, yeah, it's interesting because so you're saying she has OCD, so then she knows she does, but she's just denying that it's impacting her at this time. So any way to help her? I think if it were me, I would kind of point out like because you're saying that her symptoms have skyrocketed, so I'm guessing that you've seen some things or that you get a sense of something, whether you just observe it or she tells you. So I would maybe just, if it were me, I'd maybe be like, hey, I noticed this and I noticed that. Like, I just want to, make sure, like, how are you feeling? Like, what made you feel that way? So it's kind of really trying to inquire further and just ask questions, like open-ended questions of how are you actually feeling? Or why don't you think OCD is impacting you? Why could you think like why do you think it is? So those are just good open-ended questions because it may allow her to work through her thoughts and be like, wait, you know what? It is impacting me. I didn't think it was, but now that I've kind of dug into these questions that you've asked, I am seeing that it is. Um, the other thing I would suggest is looking for resources. So educational resources are huge. And so, I know that there are resources out there um, having to do with OCD and pregnant women and just things that can happen. And I think that that's something maybe for you to look into and maybe ask her, like, hey, I found this article and I just want to ask you, like, do you mind reading this? Do you find that this is applying to you? So just kind of trying to get some resources in there without like inundating her with stuff, but just being really understanding because OC is really hard and it can also bring up a lot of things that you don't want to talk about. And so maybe she's just not, maybe she's experiencing something newer in regards to OCD that she's not familiar with. And so it's scaring her a lot and that's causing her to not open up to you. So I would just um, be patient, be compassionate. OCD is scary. And so she might just be very scared. So I would just give her your support, talk to her, ask her questions, try and do those open-ended questions. Those can be really, really impactful. There's actually something that's really interesting. That's just something that goes into communication and speaking with people and can help people really dig deep and find what is actually going on versus just kind of like avoiding. So something to look into, it's called motivational interviewing. So it's like it's a type of communication that is so beneficial in all facets of life, but especially when working with someone who's experiencing OCD and you don't know how to quite get to the bottom of it or get them to open up or this or that, look into motivational interviewing. I think it may really help you. So I wish you, I really hope that you can reach her and I don't know, just get to the level of what she's going through because it might just be really scary and she might just not be ready to to confront it. But that's where you can come in as the supportive, being extremely supportive and knowing that it's super hard, but you're there. It's almost like even saying like, hey, if I know you're saying this isn't impacting you, but I just want you to know if it is, I'm here. I'm here for you no matter what. Just knowing that she has that support, I think is awesome. So yeah, I wish you and her the best. I can't imagine just all the feelings that come with pregnancy and then also trying to work through OCD is so hard. So I'm sorry, and I hope that things get better for you and her. Okay. All right. So we just got about a minute left. So I'm gonna grab another. I'm gonna grab a last question here, everyone. There's quite a few, so I'm just gonna try and find someone that I haven't quite spoken to just yet. Thank you all. I know it's just me today, so really trying to kind of get to all these. So let me see. So anonymous. So what medication helps compulsions? Well, I can't really give medication advice, but also I don't know, to be honest, because medication is going to work differently for everyone. So just to be honest, I did try a few things actually before therapy and during therapy, and they didn't work well for me when they were noted as like things that could help with anxiety and OCD, but they didn't work for me. But I know other people who were on the same ones, and it kind of took the edge off of their anxiety. So it's just really hard to say. But I do know that there's a few SSRIs that they attribute more to helping with OCD. So there are some out there, but I don't know to what extent, and then they're going to work differently for everyone. But I do, commend anyone who wants to try it. And I know a lot of people who are on medication in conjunction with therapy, and that works great for them. So I think, whichever makes you the most comfortable. But yeah, I would just, look into it. And you can also speak with a psychiatrist or even your general, practitioner and just kind of inquire. And I think they could give you the best like clinical advice there. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a couple more, everyone. I know that there's quite a few left. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of them, but I will be back next week, so just save those for then. Okay, so let's see. How do you deal with false memories after a night out drinking? Yeah, that's a really tough one. And what I can say is that I know for me, like any type of like drugs, alcohol is heightening to my anxiety and my OCD. And that could be typically after, so not usually during, but after, like the next day, it's a lot, it's overwhelming. And I don't quite have false memory, but just in general, if I drink and I, say I have a couple drinks the night before, typically the next day, my anxiety and my OCD is just high. And it's hard because it makes me just not want to do those things. But it's like, well, I want to have fun once in a while. It's a hard thing though, because those things really do, I just know for me, raise my anxiety and my OCD. And so this is a tough one because a night out, when you're looking at like the logic of it and then the OCD side, the logic is like, yeah, there's, we can go out and we can drink a lot and there could be things that we don't remember. That's a blackout. That's what happens. That can happen. It happens often to people. But with people with OCD, that's even scarier because we truly don't know, or we think we don't know. We might not have even blacked out, but we're like, well, what if maybe I did? I think I might have. And then you're like asking your friends, like, no, you were fine the whole time. And you're like, but like, I don't, it's just a part of OCD, unfortunately. And I think this is something that would be best directed to a therapist just because I'm not super familiar with false memory, but this is one of those things. I think it also comes down to certainty. So, you're uncertain that you may have done this last night or that this could have happened. It's uncertain. And that's something that we do have to learn to accept of, I don't know. I don't know what I did. Maybe if it's true, maybe you're like, oh yeah, I was blacked out, for these 2 hours last night because I just drank so much. And you're like, what did I do? Did I do something bad? Well, it's uncertain. And that's the thing that we do have to understand and kind of retrain our minds, is that we don't know. We just truly don't know. And we try and search and search and search for answers, but we never get to those answers. And so that's why compulsions are compulsions. But I would definitely speak to, if you are seeing a therapist, I would definitely speak to them about that, because these are like those life factors. Like, yeah, like I go to the bar, I go out drinking, and I have OCD, and I get triggered, and then I know that I'm going to be more triggered the next day because I drank, but I still chose to drink. So it's just really using your personal discretion and what you feel like is going to be the best thing for you, mentally, physically, just overall health. It's just under our discretion, because I know that I do things sometimes that raise my anxiety and OCD, but I still do them, and that's a choice. But I also have to make sure that I am prepared for that choice, and whatever comes along with that choice. If that's, I got to do 6 exposures the next day because I'm way up here, then that's just something that I have to make sure I am aware of, and that I do for myself, because I'm putting myself in that position. So, all right, I'm going to grab one more. Okay. I'm trying to see someone that I haven't spoken to just yet. All right. There's just a couple more here. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Mimi. So this is the last one, everyone. So I've been doing ERP for a month and have had a big setback due to a new obsession that brought in urges, false memory regarding the urges, and checking. I feel intimidated about tackling it. Advice? Oh, that is the worst, Mimi, when like something like, yeah, something new comes in and you're like, "Ugh, I was not prepared for this. Like I felt like I was getting better at this and that." And it's, oh my gosh, it's so discouraging. So I'm sorry that this new thing came into your life. Now, I would say that you've been doing ERP now for a month, like you just said. And so that means that you can do it. You can do it. And I'm sure you've seen some progress in what you've been doing the exposures on so far. And so I would just take that. Like you've seen that. And that's something that is real and tangible and that you have experienced. So you have this new obsession, but even though it's a new obsession, right? It's the same pattern. So it's the same type of OCD as OCD. It follows the same pattern: thoughts, images, urges, followed by compulsions, and then round and round and round. So it's a new version of what you're already going through. And so now what you can do is you can take the skills you've already learned and apply it to this new thing. I know it may be scarier and it's something new, so it's probably going to have more distress, higher triggers, but you can still do it. You can do it, and just look at what you've done so far, and how strong you are and resilient. You truly can handle and cope with anything. And I'm sure you've seen that so far, because all these times, I know with us OCD warriors, there's all these times when we think this is it. This is the end. This is the blow up. Like, this is it. This is going to be it. That's going to be it. But we always get through it. We really, really do always get through it. So I know that you can get through this as well. You may just need some positive encouragement on what you are capable of, because you're truly capable of anything. As I know it's hard to recognize, but when you look back, you really are capable of anything. So you got this, Mimi. I know it's scary and new and unknown, but you got it. You're the boss here. You really are the boss. So keep doing everything you're doing. Try your best to tackle this new obsession. I know you can do it. And yeah, so thank you so much, for all the awesome questions, everyone. Just thank you for joining. It's so great to just be able to talk with you. And I know how unknown OCD is and how unknown ERP is. And it's scary. Unknown is scary. Uncertainty is scary. OCD hates OCD hates uncertainty. So that is really scary, but we're here to kind of talk things through with you. And, every Tuesday, and then we do have our lives Monday through Thursday in general. So please, stay tuned in, and I'll be here next week as well. So if I didn't get to any questions, I'm so sorry, but I will be here next week, and I'm also on the app. So if you kind of go on the app and maybe like ask for me, I think you could maybe like tag me or mention me. I should be able to get a notification. So Just, know that we're all here for you. And OCD makes us all feel like we're alone, and we're not alone. As we can see, we're all here together and we're a community. So we're all in this together. Everyone stay strong. If you are looking to get help and you really just want to learn more, even if you're not ready to take that next step, that's okay. But, give us a call. Go onto our website, so treatmyocd.com, and just kind of look through. We have so many blogs and different resources on there for you to just kind of learn. And that's step one. And then whenever you're ready, maybe you schedule a call. That doesn't mean that you're going to sign up. It just means that you're inquiring. I know for me, I would sign up, cancel, sign up, because I was just like, I'm not ready. I don't know. I would be ready one day. Next day, I wasn't ready. So that's all okay. But if you are looking to just learn and talk, and, if you want to call in and ask for me, I'm very, very happy to speak with you. So I just want to say thank you, everyone. And I hope that you all have a really good night. And I will see you all on Tuesday. So thank you. Bye.